Editing wedding photos can be a challenge, especially if you are new to the industry. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 essential tips to get better wedding portrait photos in Lightroom. And I'm going to start right now. So my first essential tip is going to be fixing and correcting the white balance. Now, white balance is incredibly important because it's the fundamental part of colour. If your colours look off or you've got an odd colour cast within your image, the likelihood is going to be down to your white balance. To take this photo as an example, I've colour graded it, but the only thing I haven't done is fix the white balance. Although it looks good, there's an odd colour shift to it. I'd say there's quite a lot of greens and quite a lot of yellows within the scene. So what we can do is actually go over to our basics panel and drop down to our very first section, which is our white balance. And you've got 2 sliders. You've got your temperature and tint, which controls your blue to yellow and your green to magenta. Now, if you're not sure where to start, the best thing I would recommend is finding something with a neutral tone. And luckily, with weddings, we've got a lovely veil, we've also got a dress here. So what we can do, use this little tool here, which is called our white balance selector. And you want to find something with a neutral tone, which we're going to use this section of our veil here. And then all you'll need to do is simply go ahead and click. And as you can see, immediately it has fixed the white balance. You can see we've warmed it up ever so slightly, going from 5600 Kelvin to 5900 Kelvin, and then on our tint we've gone from 0 to plus 22. So as you can see, if your colours are off, the first essential tip I recommend is fixing and correcting the white balance within your image. So my second essential tip is making sure you've got nice smooth skin tones. Now sometimes bride and groom might ask you to actually remove some spots and blemishes within their face. As it's their big wedding day, you want to make sure that you kind of adhere to what they're asking for. But you don't want to go too extreme and make them look fake or ghostly at all. So I've actually got one quick tip to instantly fix your photos and smooth out those skin tones. And it's actually using just one simple slider. So take this photo here as an example. We've got obviously very smooth skin, we've got a very beautiful bride here. But what we can do is actually go down to the basics panel here. And instead of creating a mask or doing anything to the skin tones, what we're going to do is drop down to the clarity slider. Now inside the clarity slider, basically it just decreases and increases clarity, but if you ever so slightly reduce clarity, it almost adds this softening glow effect to the photo, which is something I really like, especially for wedding and portrait photos. So go to our clarity slider here and just simply drop that down by around about -25. Between -25 to -5 seems to get the effect, and it really depends on the extreme amount of your effects. So if we go ahead and zoom in, what we can do is actually see if we add it in and remove it, you can see, although it might be difficult to notice on YouTube, it actually creates this nice softened effect. So if you are wanting to soften, smooth out the skin tones, don't necessarily, you can if you want to go in and create a mask and do that, but I actually find to create a global change and make this photo look softer, just simply ever so slightly reduce the clarity. And my last essential tip is removing distractions. Now, distractions can be anything within your photo. Maybe you've got a tree and it's got some slight light coming through, which is distracting to the main subject, or maybe you've got some graffiti, which is what I've got in my example. So take this photo of a bride and groom, really liked this wedding, but there are 2 things I want to remove from this image. Firstly, we've got this, what I'm guessing used to be a sign, but all we've got now is kind of got these staples in the wood. Definitely want to remove that. And if you go ahead and zoom out, you'll notice on the left-hand side, we've got these really annoying, someone's written some very crap graffiti. I'm not sure what it says, it's a bit too far away to read, but that's something I definitely want to remove, as overall, I would say that's a big distraction to the image. So what we can do is go ahead and zoom in. What I'm going to do is go over to my remove tool. I'm going to go ahead and make sure generative fill is ticked. Then all I'm going to do is go ahead and select the sections, making sure they're highlighted in red, just the sections that I want to remove. Now, I've chosen generative fill because it does seem to be working a little bit better now, at least in Lightroom. Previously, it wasn't very good. So what I'm doing, just removing some staples, removing some bits of wood from there, and then I'm gonna head over to the graffiti section here and also remove that as well. So find any imperfections, just simply highlight them in generative fill, and then you can remove them. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and zoom back out again, and then all I'm gonna do is go ahead and click apply. Now, obviously when we're using generative fill, it does use your tokens within Creative Cloud, as well as it does take a little bit of time. So you don't necessarily have to use generative fill, but I do find it works to get the best results. And there we go. So what we can do is go ahead and zoom in, and we can see that graffiti has now completely disappeared. So what I can do is show you the before with it, And then as you can see, this particular photo now is completely distraction free. And there we go. That is how you can instantly improve your wedding photos with 3 essential tips. And if you want more tips, make sure to go ahead and write it down in the comments below.